Hare Krishna, somebody can please lead the invocation prayers. Somebody can please lead.
मैं प्रभु जी।
Go ahead.
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् स्यूतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं राधाकृष्णपदां सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्तान्विश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पश्चान्तदेशतारिणे। जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming to hear and discuss Srila Prabhupada and Krishna's instructions, and thank you for taking the ownership to apply these learnings in your lives. Today we will discuss inquiries from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 2. Question number 1. Is it fair to equate a child's natural developmental need for play and exploration with the ego-driven lording it over mentality of a materialistic adult? And if we label every natural human impulse as a polluted desire, do we risk creating a culture of repression rather than genuine spiritual transformation? So everyone in the material world is here to lord it over material nature due to contaminated consciousness that I am the Lord of all I survey. The lording over is of different degrees, from child wanting to play to ego-driven activities. Human impulse at bodily level is polluted, but any human activity for devotional service is not considered polluted. So it is not to repress, rather is to redirect the use of senses appropriately to devotional services. Question number 2. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.2.2. The scriptures itself does not mention meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms or such heavenly illusory pleasures. Could the illusory things and meaningless things ideas translated related to material desires on this earth? I'm confused as to why the translation has taken the liberty to add the word heaven here. Can you kindly explain? So let me first bring up 2.2.2 verse on the screen to understand what exactly is the inquiry. So we have 2.2.2 verse on the screen, and Priyanka will read the word for word translation and then the translation to understand that the word for meaningless does not say heaven, but then Prabhupada in the translation goes on to say heaven. And that's the question. So how do we understand this? Priyanka, you want to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Word for word, Shabdasya of the Vedic sound, he certainly, Brahmana of the Vedas, Ishaha, these, Antaha, the way, Yat, what is, Namabhi, by different names, Dhyayati, ponders, Dhihi, intelligence, Apar, Aparthahi, by meaningless ideas, Paribrahman, wandering, Tatra, there, Na, never, Vindat, Vindate, enjoys, Arthan, realities, Maya, Maye, in illusory things, Vasanaya, by different desires, Sha, Shayanaha, as if dreaming in sleep. Translation. The way of presentation of the Vedic sounds is so bewildering that it directs the intelligence of the people to meaningless things like the heavenly kingdoms. The conditioned souls, however, in dreams of such heavenly illusory pleasures, but at the conditioned souls hover in dreams of such heavenly illusory pleasures, but actually they do not relish any tangible happiness in such places. Hare Krishna.
Right. So the word for word translation does not have the word heaven. The word for word says intelligence is wandering in meaningless ideas but never enjoys. So, compared to Earth and hellish planets, heaven has higher enjoyment. Although heaven is also a place of misery, because heaven is also within material world. So many people in the material world are wanting to go to heaven without really understanding that going to heaven is like going to a resort. One has to come back to earth after pious credits are exhausted. So, in translation of the verse 2.2.2, Srila Prabhupada has said meaningless things like heaven because comparatively, heaven has better facilities, although heaven is also a place of misery. So Prabhupada is saying, well, in the material world, heaven has better enjoying facility. Well, that also is meaningless. So Prabhupada is putting the highest enjoying facility in the material world as meaningless to understand that the lower is anyway meaningless. Now, further to understand this, if you actually read Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 specifically as a very evident example, Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 verses are on Ashtanga Yoga. But Srila Prabhupada keeps talking about Bhakti Yoga in those verses. Reason being, Srila Prabhupada knows the heart of Krishna. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada knows that Krishna actually wants all to follow the easier process of Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, throughout Bhagavad Gita and in Bhagavatam, also, Srila Prabhupada keeps hammering Bhakti Yoga, no matter what the verse is saying. Srila Prabhupada has done the same way in Srimad Bhagavatam many places. One is evident here in 2.2. that Srila Prabhupada knows the heart of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada has taken in this verse 2.2.2 the highest material, pleasurable place, heaven, as meaningless thing. Well, then, of course, earth and hellish planet will anyway be meaningless if the higher enjoying place is meaningless. So what to speak of the lower? Does that answer the inquiry? All right. Question number 3. What is the Bhagavad school mentioned in class, and what other schools are there? So school is a path. So there is Bhagavad school or Bhakti school or the Bhakti path. Then there is the Karmi path, the Jnani, the Ashtang Yogi, the Mayavadi school of thoughts. Question number 4. Why do we have a female form of Srimati Radharani alongside Krishna and worship her as an equal if it is not recommended? So Krishna is always with his devotees. Srimati Radharani is his devotee and his consort. Srimati Radharani is also God and worshipable. Actually, it is easier to please Srimati Radharani, and when Srimati Radharani recommends a devotee to Krishna, then Krishna cannot refuse. So initially there was only Krishna. Krishna expanded to Srimati Radharani to exchange rasa. So Srimati Radharani is equally worshipable. Does not say anywhere not to worship Srimati Radharani. So I'm not sure how the question came about. Does that help with the inquiry? Right, question number 5. Are there any scriptures outside of the Srimad Bhagavatam purport or even outside of Bhagavatam that describe Khatwanga Maharaj's story discussed in class? So we have discussed at the start of Srimad Bhagavatam that Srimad Bhagavatam is a compilation of bhakti-related topics from various scriptures. Example, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Kunti Maharani prayers are actually in Mahabharata, where the entire life story of Kunti Maharani is described, and only the prayers of Kunti Maharani are extracted from Mahabharata and placed in Srimad Bhagavatam, because these Kunti Maharani prayers are bhakti prayers. Rest of Kunti Maharani's life described in Mahabharata is at Karmakanda level, that is not discussed in Bhagavatam. Similarly, Bhishma Dev prayers in Canto 1, Chapter 9 are also in Mahabharata. Bhishma Dev's entire life was at Karmakanda level. Therefore, those Karmakanda parts are not placed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Only the final prayers of Bhishma Dev are extracted from Mahabharata and placed in Srimad Bhagavatam, because these final prayers of Bhishma Dev are bhakti prayers. Similarly, Khatwanga Maharaj's story will be described in some scripture And the bhakti related component is placed in Srimad Bhagavatam, where Sukadeva Goswami gives an example that how long life is not important, but a little bit of remembrance of Krishna or bhakti is more important, to emphasize how Khatvanga Maharaj, even though he was in heaven, he gave up that and said, give me the fastest airplane to go back to earth so that I can focus on Krishna, because I don't want to get distracted by all the enjoying available in heaven. Does that answer the inquiry? All right, question number 6. In the last part of the question and answer class recording last week, it was mentioned that the universal form, although in bracket in the question says Vishnu, but that is incorrect. So that the universal form is not eternal and is annihilated at the end. Does this mean Vishnu is temporary role like Brahma and will be destroyed? The correct understanding is that there are 3 Vishnus. First is Karanodakshay Vishnu. Karanodakshay Vishnu provides all the ingredients for material world creation as part of Sarga, primary creation. From Karanodakshay Vishnu comes Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Garbhodakshay Vishnu enters each universe as super soul of the universe, and that's how the creation happens in the universe. You will soon hear all this coming up in Canto 2, Chapter 5 and up to Canto 3, Chapter 5, the creation process. From Garbhodakshay Vishnu comes Shirodakshay Vishnu. Shirodakshay Vishnu is the super soul within each living entity. All these 3 Vishnus are incarnations of Krishna. All these 3 Vishnus are at the Vishnu Tattva level, means all these 3 Vishnus are eternal. They are never temporary, they are never destroyed. From Garbhodakshay Vishnu's navel, a lotus sprouts, and on top of the lotus, Brahmaji takes birth. From Garbhodakshay Vishnu also comes the universal form. Universal form is transcendental, still universal form is not eternal. When full annihilation of the material world universe happens at the end of Brahmaji's 100-year life, universal form is also annihilated. Brahmaji returns to Godhead and the 3 Vishnus continue to exist in the Vaikuntha Lokas. Does that clarify? Am I audible to everybody?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Question number 7. Even when we know the simple process to go back to Godhead, why do we still see initiated devotees chasing opulences? So initiation is not the end of spirituality. Rather, initiation is the starting point of spirituality. Everyone gets initiated, but only very few become disciples. Yes, I will repeat this very important statement. Everybody gets initiated, but only very few become disciples. Means very few who follow the orders of spiritual master properly become disciples, and only such disciples who follow the orders of spiritual master properly, they go back home, back to Godhead. The 10th offense of the 10 offenses against chanting the holy name says, maintaining material desires even after hearing so many instructions is an offense. So all devotees, even after initiation, they get caught in this offense quite often. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Lord Kapila says that one may continue to do devotional services life after life after life after life on this material world. But if one is not serious about not doing offenses, then the devotee will just continue devotional services life after life after life in material world, but will never be able to go back to Godhead. So actually, devotee should be humble. But some devotees actually become arrogant after initiation. That look, I am now initiated. So my request to all of you is that even after you all get initiated, please continue to maintain the humble attitude of a neophyte that you have right now, that I do not know anything. By mercy of devotees and Srimati Radharani, I got this opportunity for service. Therefore, I am doing this service as best as is possible for me, although I know I am not capable to do this service. So this is my humble request. I'll repeat this humble request to all of you and ask you all to confirm. My humble request to all of you is that even after you all get initiated, please continue to maintain the current humble attitude that you all have as a neophyte, that I do not know anything. By mercy of devotee, spiritual master Srimati Radharani, I get little opportunity for service. So I am doing this service as best as is possible, although I am not capable to do this service. So I request all of you to confirm. Please stay humble. Everybody, doable for you?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
Very
Prabhuji.
important.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Question number 8. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, why does meditation on the Lord in Srimad Bhagavatam begin from his lotus feet rather than immediately going to the confidential pastimes of the 10th canto? Very good. So you will soon hear this discussion in class recording number 42 of the previous batch on Canto 2, Chapter 4, that I will provide the link next week. So today I'm going to send you Canto 2, Chapter 3, and next week I'll give you Canto 2, Chapter 4. So the discussion that you will hear in Canto 2, Chapter 4, I am going to describe right now and will read to understand this, that Parikshit Maharaj had 7 days before his imminent death. So why is Parikshit Maharaj inquiring about creation of universes? We know that Canto 10 is all about Krishna's pastimes that are very relishable and by which is easy to focus mind on Krishna. Plus, in Canto 2, Chapter 4 purport, which we'll soon read, it explains that Parikshit Maharaj actually already knows about creation. So why is Parikshit Maharaj inquiring about creation instead of Krishna's pastimes described in Canto 10? Parikshit Maharaj is already a great devotee. Parikshit Maharaj does not need to know this question about creation of universes. Plus, Parikshit Maharaj has only 7 days. So why is Parikshit Maharaj inquiring about creation instead of Canto 10 pastimes? Why not just jump to Canto 10? The answer is that without understanding the greatness of Supreme Personality of Godhead, many treat Krishna is ordinary. Many treat Krishna as God just as theory. Therefore, one should first know the greatness of the Lord, then Canto 10 will become relishable. Creation is also a pastime of the Lord. Kurukshetra war is also a pastime of the Lord. And this creation pastime is inconceivable and is also relishable. Creation is very wonderful. And inconceivable activity of the Lord. Learned scholars have insufficient information about creation. And Abhishek Prabhu has rightly pointed out in the chat from our today morning's Shishopanishad discussion that the same message is also there in Shishopanishad, that to know the majesty of the Lord. So why, thank you Abhishek Prabhu, why Parikshit Maharaj asked the question about creation is because to set an example for future readers and hearers that this is the process of reciting Srimad Bhagavatam so that one can perfect their life. Just as we all are studying scriptures in sequential order, that we first said we need Bhagavad Gita basis first, then Bhagavatam will become relishable and you can understand Bhagavatam. If you simply jump to Bhagavatam, it's not possible to understand Bhagavatam. So many devotees in ISKCON, they wrongly give this advice to others. Oh, just read Bhagavatam. Arey Baba, you cannot understand postgraduate without getting the graduate degree. Yes, you will get some benefit from reading Bhagavatam. But if you follow the proper process in sequence, you will get a lot more benefit. And this is what Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami are setting the standard for future readers and hearers. That this is the process of reciting Srimad Bhagavatam so that one can perfect their life. That you go in sequence and of the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita is ABCD, you first need ABCD, then you come to Bhagavatam in the sequence of all scriptures. And in Bhagavatam also, you go in sequence, you don't jump to Canto 10. You start from introduction, chapter 1, Canto 1. So we have to go in sequence to get the benefit. This is how one gets the mercy of Krishna, and this is for future followers. And we'll soon read from Bhagavatam 2.4.6, paragraph number 1, to understand this point. Padma Kumar Prabhu, I did not understand. What did you say in the chat?
I asked Prabhu, like, if I cannot chant, then what should I do? Okay, go and read Bhagavatam. That's advice given.
Yeah, so you are correct that if you cannot chant, you should read, but don't jump to Bhagavatam. Read in sequence, right? First understand Bhagavad Gita, ABCD, then come to Bhagavatam. So the advice is correct that Prabhupada has also given this advice that originally Prabhupada said the standard is, even today, the standard is to chant 64 rounds of japa. And devotees said, Prabhupada, it's impossible to chant 64 rounds of japa in one day. Prabhupada reduced it to 32. And still devotees say, Prabhupada, it's impossible to chant 32 rounds. Then Prabhupada said, okay, 16 rounds and no more reduction. And simultaneously Prabhupada said, okay, now chant 16 rounds and simultaneously you read scriptures, you do devotional services. But Prabhupada didn't say just jump to Canto 10 of Bhagavata. So Prabhupada has given, and we'll soon read from 2.4.6, paragraph number 1 and paragraph number 3, that go in sequence. Yes, the advice is correct that if you cannot chant 24 hours, then at least chant 16 rounds of japa and rest of the time spend on scriptures, because it's identical. Whether you do japa or you read scriptures is identical, but you have to go in sequence. Padma Kumar, Prabhu, does that help in before we read?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so let's read to understand from what Prabhupada has actually told us. So I'll bring up 2.4.6, paragraph number 1 will read, Kunal Prabhu will read. So I have 2.4.6 on the screen. Kunal Prabhu, translation and paragraph number 1.
Translation: I beg to know from you how the personality of Godhead by his personal energies creates these phenomenal universes as they are, which are inconceivable even to the great demigods. Purport: in every inquisitive mind, the important question of the creation of the phenomenal world arises, and therefore for a personality like Maharaj Parikshit, who was to know all the activities of the Lord from his spiritual master, such an inquiry is not uncommon. For every unknown thing, we have to learn and inquire from a learned personality. The question of creation is also one of such inquiries to be made to the right person. The spiritual master, therefore, must be one who is Sarva Jnana, as stated herein before, in connection with Sukdev Goswami. Thus, all inquiries on God which are unknown to the disciple may be made from the qualified spiritual master. And here the practical example is set by Maharaj Parikshit. It was, however, already known to Maharaj Parikshit that everything we see is born out of the energy of the Lord, as we have all learned in the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. Janma adi asya yataha. So Maharaj Parikshit wanted to know the process of creation. The origin of creation was known to him. Otherwise, he would not have inquired how the personality of Godhead by his different energies creates this phenomenal world. The common man also knows that the creation is made by some creator and is not created automatically. We have no experience in the practical world that a thing is created automatically. Foolish people say that the creative energy is independent and acts automatically as electrical energy works. But the intelligent man knows that even the electrical energy is generated by an expert engineer in the localized powerhouse, and thus the energy is distributed everywhere under the resident engineer's supervision. The Lord's supervision in connection with creation is mentioned even in the Bhagavad Gita 9.10, and it is clearly said that the material energy is a manifestation of one of many such energies of the Supreme. Parasya Shaktir Vividha Surayate. An inexperienced boy may be struck with wonder by seeing the impersonal actions of electronics or any other wonderful things conducted by electrical energy, but an experienced man knows that behind the action is a living man who creates such energy. Similarly, the so-called scholars and philosophers of the world may, by mental speculation, present so many utopian theories about the impersonal creation of the universe, but the intelligent devotee of the Lord, by studying the Bhagavad Gita, can know that behind the creation is the hand of the Supreme Lord. Just as the generating electrical powerhouse, there is the resident engineer. The research scholar finds out that the cause and effect of everything, but research scholars such as great as Brahma, Shiva, Indra, and many other demigods are sometimes bewildered by seeing the wonderful creative energy of the Lord. So, what to speak of the tiny mundane scholars dealing in petty things? As there are differences in living conditions of different planets of the universe, and as one planet is superior to other, the brains of living entities in those respective planets are also different categorical values. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, one can compare the long duration of life of the inhabitants of Brahma planet, which is inconceivable to the inhabitants of the planet Earth, to the categorical value of the brain of Brahmaji, also inconceivable to any great scientist of this planet.
All right.
And with
So
yeah,
we already read that Parikshit Maharaj already knows the origin of creation. Otherwise, how is he going to ask about it? And great personalities like Brahma, Shiva, even they get bewildered. So Parikshit Maharaj is asking this question about creation for the benefit of everyone. And we'll soon read in paragraph number 3 from the same verse that why Parikshit Maharaj followed the process of starting Bhagavatam from Canto 1, Chapter 1. And Sukadeva Goswami also did not say, oh, Parikshit Maharaj, you only have 7 days. You should go to Canto 10. No, both of them are teaching us by their example. So if we have this last paragraph on screen, Remya will read the last paragraph. It starts, Maharaj Parikshit did not ask.
Hare Krishna. Maharaja Parikshit did not ask his spiritual master, Sukadeva Goswami, to narrate Lord Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavana. He wanted to hear first about the creation of the Lord. Sukadeva Goswami did not say that the king should hear about the direct transcendental pastimes of the Lord. The time was very short, and naturally, Sukadeva Goswami could have gone directly to the 10th canto to make a shortcut of the whole thing, as generally done by the professional reciters. But neither the king nor the great speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam jumped up like the organizers of Bhagavatam. Both of them proceeded systematically, so that both future readers and hearers might take lessons from the example of the procedure of reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who are under the control of the external energy of the Lord, or in other words, those who are in the material world, must first of all know how the external energy of the Lord is working under the direction of the Supreme Personality, and afterwards one may try to enter into the activities of his internal energy. The mundaners are mostly worshippers of Durga Devi, the external energy of Krishna, but they do not know that Durga Devi is but the shadow energy of the Lord. Behind her astonishing display of material workings is the direction of the Lord, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 10. The Brahma Samhita affirms that Durga Shakti is working by the direction of Govinda, and without his sanction, the powerful Durga Shakti cannot move even a blade of grass. Therefore, the neophyte devotee, instead of jumping at once to the platform of transcendental pastimes presented by the internal energy of the Lord, may know how great the Supreme Lord is by inquiring about the process of his creative energy. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita also, descriptions of the creative energy and the Lord's hand in it are explained, and the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita has warned the neophyte devotees to be seriously on guard against the pitfall of neglecting knowledge about Krishna in regard to how great he is. Only when one knows Lord Krishna's greatness can one firmly put one's unflinching faith in him. Otherwise, like the common man, even the great leaders of men will mistake Lord Krishna for one of the many demigods, or a historical personality, or a myth only. The transcendental pastimes of the Lord in Vrindavana or even at Dwaraka are relishable for persons who have already qualified themselves in advanced spiritual techniques, and the common man may be able to attain to such a plane by the gradual process of service and inquiries as we shall see in the behavior of Maharaja Parikshit. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Right. So Sukadeva Goswami also did not say, well, you have very short time, you should go to Canto 10. No, he did not say. Prabhupada says both Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami did not jump to Canto 10. Why? Because they are setting the standards for future readers and hearers like us, that the proper process to study Bhagavatam and any scriptures is to go in sequence. First study Bhagavad Gita ABCD, then come to the level of understanding of Bhagavatam, then start Bhagavatam, and in Bhagavatam also go in sequence, exactly like how we all have been doing from day one. We started with introduction. We didn't even skip introduction. We spent 2 classes on introduction. And you also read by yourself. I gave you all the themes. And Prabhupada explains that a neophyte has to seriously guard against the pitfall of neglecting knowledge about Krishna. We have to first understand the greatness of the Lord. Only then the pastimes of Canto 10 presented by the internal energy will be relishable, not otherwise. So, my request to Padma Kumar and everybody is that just because somebody is coming to the temple for X number of years does not mean he has become elevated. Somebody is elevated, first they have to understand the scriptures. If somebody is not reading the scriptures, Srila Prabhupada's scriptures, then they will not understand. They are just saying what they have heard. So my request to Padma Kumar and everybody is that when somebody tells you something, ask them for scriptural references. So you all ask me so many questions. Just visualize, how am I answering? I give you scriptural references of one after the other. Why? Because I know I am imperfect. If I say something by my Pratyaksha Praman, you should reject. So a couple of questions I have answered and I have qualified them saying, this is my Pratyaksha Praman. Because I don't have scriptural reference, I'm giving my Pratyaksha Praman. You can accept, you can reject, or park it for later when you get further clarification. So for example, yesterday at the Nectar of Instruction class, there was an inquiry about cow protection. So I clearly said there is no solution right now. So my Pratyaksha Praman response is that you continue to take the milk that is available in the material world and offer to Krishna. Right now, there is no solution available. So how am I going to give? But I clearly qualified my statement saying this is my Pratyaksha Praman. So it's okay to ask questions to devotees as long as you get scriptural reference. If you don't get scriptural reference, then you have to judge to should I accept or not. Now, it's okay to get the scriptural reference, say afterwards. Say you ask a question to me and I'll say, well, I'm not a running encyclopedia. I will give you the scriptural reference next time. I know someplace it says this point. That reference is not handy with me right now. I can give you later on. That is okay. But if I don't provide you any scriptural reference and I just say, no, this is what you should follow, well, why should I follow? Why should I accept? I am imperfect. Scriptures are perfect. So we have to follow scriptures. Padma Kumar and everybody on the same page?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So there's a question posted in the chat. Does Srimad Bhagavatam say anything about Sukadeva Goswami's past life? We know Vyasadeva was his guru for the Srimad Bhagavatam. Since Parikshit Maharaj is listening to Sukadeva Goswami before his death, there must be something very big as how Sukadeva Goswami is connected to Shri Krishna. So we discussed brief history of Sukadeva Goswami in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, should be around chapter 4, where the history of Bhagavatam and Vyasadeva and Sukadeva Goswami is given. Plus the only other reference that I can immediately think of Sukadeva Goswami is Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.20, where he is referenced as one of the Mahajan. So these are the only places where I can immediately think of where Sukadeva Goswami is referenced, where his history is provided. So Canto 1, around chapter 4 or somewhere there where his history is provided. That who exactly is Sukadeva Goswami, that he was in his mother's womb for 16 years. Vyasadeva is his father as well as his spiritual master. And then Krishna came to give him comfort that no, you are Paramahamsa. When you come out of your mother's womb, material nature will not touch you. So this discussion was there, the start of Canto 1, chapter 4 and around. And then I have Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.20 on screen, which lists the 12 Mahajans. And these are the only places where Sukadeva Goswami is mentioned. Right, let's see who wants to read. Subhash Prabhu, you want to read the translation 6.3.20?
Hare Krishna. Lord Brahma, Bhagavan Narada, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Lord Kapila, the son of Devahuti, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlada Maharaj, Janaka Maharaj, grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami, and I myself know the real religious principle. My dear servants, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as Bhagavata Dharma, or surrender unto the Lord, Supreme Lord, and love for Him, is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is very confidential and difficult for ordinary human beings to understand, but if by chance one fortunately understands it, he is immediately liberated and thus he returns home back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Right, so the translation says, I myself. So this is Yamraj. So Yamraj is speaking this verse. And from the earlier question about Bhagavad Dharma, also gets further referenced here that Bhagavad Dharma means bhakti, which is surrender to the Lord. Does that answer the inquiry posted in the chat?
Yes, Prabhuji, thanks. I'll reread the chat and so on.
All right. Last question for today. The Manu Samhita is the standard law book for humanity. And every human being is advised to follow this great book of social knowledge. Is it necessary for us to study the Manu Samhita? So first, focus on completing all of Srila Prabhupada's books which are on bhakti. So Srila Prabhupada has said in Bhagavad Gita 17.15 purport, says there is limitless stock of Vedic literature and one must read these. This is austerity of speech. So Prabhupada's direct instruction is first focus on bhakti scriptures. Prabhupada has given so much scriptures to us that it is not possible, at least for me, to finish all of them in one lifetime. Manu Samhita will have at least some focus on karma kanda activities. Therefore, reading Manu Samhita is not a priority. Reading Srila Prabhupada's scriptures, bhakti scriptures, is a priority. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Those are all the inquiries for today. Anybody has anything else burning right now? Burning question? All right. We will stop here. I will post the next lecture. You still have a lot of time today. You should try to use the time today to listen to the recording and complete your spiritual endeavors. It's only one or two of you who are adamant in not completing the spiritual endeavor or adamant in always completing 10 minutes before the next class. So break your cycle and try to complete it from what we discussed, that before the manic Monday starts, try to complete your spiritual endeavor. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.